I am live. I'm live. I haven't done a live in so long. Hello, 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 everybody. Today, I want to talk about what happens when we need a bit of help to focus on something. So I'm going to tell you what's going on. But first, let me tell you who I am. My name is Linda G. Robert. I'm your Back in the Groove Again coach, helping you live your best life right now so you can love what you do. These tips are going to be great for you, especially if you're finding that you're all over the place and you're having a difficult time focusing on one thing. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I actually woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and got up and accomplished what I set out to accomplish. So I wanted to start decluttering some boxes, and I actually started with that. And I also wanted to go for a long walk, and boy, did I ever. I went for a really, really long walk. But most of the time, I'll have some ideas of what I want to do for the day, but I might not be necessarily focused on doing those things. I'll give you another example. A couple of days ago, I put a video on there talking about where you put your attention, and I was talking about, when you want to meet somebody, right? I shared that I want to meet somebody. When you want to meet somebody, you have to put your attention on meeting somebody. If you want to get healthy, you want to put your attention on getting healthy. If you want to go on a trip, you have to put some attention on going on that trip, planning that trip, and everything that's around that trip, right? If you don't put your attention on it, and if you just keep it here, then you're never going to see the light of it. You're never going to see the action of doing what it is you intend on doing. So I'm going to give you a couple of very, very specific examples. I have a deck that I need to paint, actually more than one deck. I have quite a few decks that need to be painted. And I know that it needs to be painted. So I started planning the painting of this deck probably about a month ago with purchasing the first thing that I needed, a power cleaner. And then just, when was it? On Friday, I actually picked up the paint, the stain that I'm going to need, brushes and stuff like that. And my date to actually start doing this is on Wednesday, the 1st. I'm the type of person that I think in big picture. If you know anything about the Myers-Briggs type indicator, I'm on the border E and I, which is introvert and extrovert, but I'm definitely an N, which is intuitive, F, which is feeling, and P for perception. So I'm an ENFP or an INFP. I'm not exactly clear if it's the I or the E. But we're the type of people that we look in big, big pictures. We will always, be creative, and we'll have all sorts of creativity, all sorts of different ideas, putting our ideas together. But it's challenging to put these ideas into action. So, the deck that I have to paint, I know it has to be done, but it's really not something that I really want to get done. I have other things that are pressing me, other things that are more interesting to me. So the deck still needs to get done. And so the only way that I'm able to manage to get the deck done is by putting my attention on it. So that's what I did, right? I put my attention on the deck by looking at what needed to be done. I needed to clean it, right? So I bought a power washer. I needed to get paint, so I got the paint. In other words, if you're like me, either an ENFP or an INFP, you have to come up with strategies in order to bring your thoughts and your ideas into action. So these tips that I'm going to be sharing with you are tips that are going to be really, really helpful. Number one is to write a list of your priorities of the day. So, I noticed that when I was doing that every day for about 2 months' time. Every day, I would get up in the morning after I finished my little routine. I would go on this booklet that I have, and I would write down my intentions for the day. Things that needed to be done. Hello, things that needed to be done during that day. And the act of writing it down in that booklet was really, really helpful. So that's one of the things. I wrote down a list of my top priorities, but I also wrote down how I would feel after I accomplished those things. And that's just for the day. And I had to do that every day. And I noticed that I haven't done that probably in about a month and a half now. And I've lost focus in that sense. I'm still getting things done, but it's taking me a little bit longer to get things done. So tip number 1 is really about establishing that routine, establishing that habit of sitting down, paper in hand, pen in hand, or I have a little booklet on my computer that I use, and intentionally writing down what my intentions are of the day. That's really important to do that every day. And then, of course, I suggest that you do the most challenging thing first. So focusing on the most challenging thing first. Now, you might do a challenging activity first from that list and then do something easier after. Or you might do 2 or 3 things that are challenging. When it came to the decluttering piece, it's not on my list of things to do right now, but when it came to that, I did that yesterday. I got 2 boxes done. I was so happy. I've been wanting to start decluttering that paperwork for a long time. So I decided yesterday morning when I woke up, I put that on my list, and I actually started with that. That was the first thing that I started. And I made that a conscious choice because I knew that if I was going to do something else during the day and then go back to that decluttering, that I wouldn't have done it. And I'll give you an example. I got 2 of the boxes done. There was a 3rd box that I was going to leave for after I come back from my walk. Well, my walk was a reward, but the walk ended up by being almost a 12-kilometer walk. It was a very, very long walk. So by the time I got home, I was too tired to work on that 3rd box. So you can kind of see how getting rid of those challenging things, daunting things first is better. Right? So now that third box, or the box that's in the shed, there's a few boxes that are waiting for me in the shed. I don't know when I'm going to get that done. I would have to put my attention and write that on my list of things to do so that my attention goes on that, right? That's what I would have to do in order to get that small task done. So tip number 2 was to do the challenging parts first, right? Tip number 1 was to write your list every day of what your priorities are every day. And tip number 2 is to start with the most challenging thing first, and rewarding yourself, of course, rewarding yourself. And tip number 3 is to be compassionate, to really be compassionate. And I'll give you some examples here. My goal is to, and I'm saying it, but I'm really having a hard time saying it because it's challenging for me to think that I'm going to paint my deck. I'm going to paint my deck on the 1st. My goal is to paint my deck on July 1st. Now, I know darn well that I may not do that. I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to aim for that. I actually took the whole day off, so I know I'm going to get it started. But I also know that I may not get it all done. My intention isn't to get it all done, but it's at least to get it started. And why I want to bring compassion here is that oftentimes we might have the right intention to do something. We really do. And it just doesn't work out. Like yesterday, when I was on my walk, and I walked a long ways, when I was on my walk, I thought, okay, when I come back from my walk, This is as I'm walking. When I come back from my walk, I'm going to do that third box that's in the shed. Right? That's what I was thinking that I was going to do. But by the time I got done my walk, I was exhausted, literally exhausted. So that walk, forget it. That ain't another walk. The box thing ain't happening. And instead of saying to myself, oh man, get out there, get that box done. Or, you said you were going to do this, but you didn't do it. You're doing it again. All of these negative, crappy things that we could be saying in our heads. Instead of that, I didn't even go there. First of all, I was exhausted, physically exhausted. I could not have done that. But second of all, because I know that I'm going to get it done, but I just couldn't get it done yesterday. So you want to be compassionate towards yourself, right? We're taking it one day at a time here for this what I'm talking about today, right? I'm talking about when we have things we want to do. Maybe we find that they're too overwhelming, that there's a lot of things to do, but we get caught up with all sorts of other things. I'm talking about if you're, the preference style, the ENFP or the INFP, we are big thinkers. We are creative thinkers. We're always thinking of all sorts of projects except the detail stuff. So the detail, like painting that bloody deck, as if I want to paint the deck. I'm just going to do it a little bit differently. I've got July 1st set aside. I've got some paint waiting for me. Yeah, I got the paint. I got the paintbrush. I am motivating myself to do this. And that's how we're going to get done. But if by chance I don't get parts of it done or some of it done, I am going to be compassionate to myself, right? And the next day, or the next time I have the opportunity to work on that project, I'm going to keep going, right? I know in my case, for that deck thing, I have to keep putting time aside to do it. Literally block time off on my schedule to do it. That's the only way I'm going to get it done. I know myself. So I think it's important to know yourself, understand yourself, but also if you have things you need to get done or want to get done, it kind of goes against the grain. Like this deck thing goes against my natural grain of being more intuitive, of going with the flow. It is going against the natural grain. So I know that, and I know that the only way that I'm going to do it is by putting time aside to get it done, right? So tip number 1 was to write every day, not just a list for the week, but every day, write yourself a list of things you want to accomplish on that day. Number 2 was to decide your priorities. What's the most important thing? And what's the hardest thing for you to do? Get rid of that and celebrate it after you've gotten rid of it. And the third one was to be compassionate with yourself. So compassionate, so important. This is Linda G. Robert, your Back in the Groove Again coach, helping you live your best life right now. For more information on my services, go to my website, backinthegrooveagain.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I should have said that at the beginning. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Bye now. Take care. Have a great